In an American town, nestled amidst the steep mountain passes, where the howling wind and blizzard seemed to disrupt the very rhythm of life, 200 strangers coexisted. The town, a tableau of both grandeur and silence, was built around a single main street, its weathered wooden buildings and dusty roads concealing the dark traces of unsolved murders from 15 years prior. The town's past was steeped in logging, the memory of vast forests felled, and the lingering scent of wood debris still carried on the wind, now a silent precursor to the horrifying disappearances that recurred every night. Andrew Carter, a 35-year-old single writer, had settled in this desolate mountain town to pen a new chapter of his life. He saw the town's remote and cold winters, the emotional distance among its inhabitants, and its dark secrets as sources of inspiration. As Andrew roamed the town's deserted streets, confronting only his own thoughts and the cold gazes of the residents, he began to awaken each evening with a growing sense of panic. The townspeople maintained a distance even among themselves, their mysterious glances and silent observations betraying unspoken secrets they dared not utter. On the first night, only the eerie hum of dark shadows disturbed the silence of the town beneath a heavy snowfall. Andrew, looking out from his new home's window, noticed the faint light of the lamps on the main street flickering amidst the snowflakes like a trembling ghost dance. In the deep silence of the night, an old man passing in front of a small house suddenly vanished. His disappearance, coinciding with the blizzard descending upon the town, seemed as if he had been erased by an invisible hand. His first disappearance, along with the identity of the person, bore signs of a deliberate plan. The next morning, Andrew replayed the sleepless night and the dreams which were intertwined with silent screams. The town's narrow main street, like a slowly fading painting, remained mum. The shop owner, a few residents waiting at the bus stop, all stared at each other with blank expressions. Andrew, at his small table at home, was engrossed in old newspaper clippings he had obtained from the local archives. The unsolved murders from 15 years ago in this town might be connected to some strange occurrences that happened on the same night. A file in his home revealed the name of the vanished man, Edwin Clark. Edwin was a longtime resident of the town, and his disappearance reignited the parched memories of the old murders. As the second night slowly descended and snowflakes fell like harbingers of death, another unease gripped the town. That night, a young woman named Sarah Bennett vanished as if she had lost her way home. Sarah had disappeared in a moment of agitation while passing in front of her small shop on the town's single main street. When the townspeople heard of Sarah's disappearance, their faces showed a mixture of anxiety and sorrow. This silence was now an expression not merely of personal distress, but also of a dark danger. As soon as Andrew learned of Sarah's disappearance, he began to realize that these events were no coincidence, delving deeper into old archive records and local rumors. When the third night arrived, amidst heavy snowfall that seemed to block all roads and cut off the town's communication, another young man vanished. This young man, named Michael Reed, was born, raised, and struggled for life in the home of his family, which was part of the town's traditional logging past. Michael was reported missing late in the evening while passing in front of his house. As Andrew listened to Michael's family, he wondered if the young man carried a trace that could link him to the town's old murders. Each disappearance rekindled the memories of old murders in the town's misty history. The mystery behind the situation deepened with the traces of unresolved matters. The blizzard blanketing the town had completely severed communication in the following days, isolating this small settlement from the outside world. On the fourth night, amidst the foggy snowflakes, Richard Avery, a middle-aged and respected citizen, suddenly disappeared from one of the old wooden houses on the edge of the town square. Richard was revered by the community, known for his knowledge of the town's old logging history and his honest life. His disappearance revived forgotten memories in the town's past and caused hypotheses to accumulate in Andrew's mind. If there was a common thread among these events, he needed to connect the nightly pattern of disappearances with the similarities to the murders from 15 years ago to notice it. On the fifth night, fear spread through the town, not enough to melt the ice between the distant and reserved attitudes of the residents amidst the white snowflakes drifting along the town's main street. That night, Joseph McAllister, a respected and beloved resident of the town, who had earned the trust of the entire town for years, suddenly disappeared from his home, along with a young worker named Thomas Parker. Joseph McAllister was known among the townspeople as an exemplary citizen. His orderly life, helpfulness, and cultured demeanor had endeared him to everyone. But now, investigations conducted at his home revealed clues to Thomas's disappearance, which coincided with McAllister's past. As Andrew thoroughly sifted through Thomas's records, he sensed a connection between this event and the traces of old murders in the town's history. On the sixth night, amidst a heavy snowfall that had almost completely blanketed the city in white, the townspeople found themselves in a sorrowful state they had never experienced before. That night, from a quiet and secluded house on the other side of town, a young woman, Emily Lawson, whose name had not yet been heard, disappeared. Emily, while on everyone's lips in town, seemed like an ordinary citizen in terms of her work and lifestyle. But her sudden disappearance revealed another link in this frightening tradition that repeated every evening. Andrew noticed that a few broken photographs, an old diary, and notes containing mysterious symbols found in Emily's house contained clues suggesting a similarity to some murders committed in the past. Thus, with each passing hour, the hope and fear that the town's old secrets would be revealed intertwined. On the seventh and final night, as the last evening of the week arrived, the blizzard engulfed the town with full force. The constant wind and persistent snowflakes severed all communication between the town and the outside world, leaving behind only the silence of death. That night, along the town's single main street, another citizen, living independently and distantly in 7 different houses, disappeared. This time, the person named in the detailed records was Robert James. Robert was neither well-known nor much talked about among the townspeople, but his inclusion in the pattern of all disappearances was the final piece that put all the pieces together for Andrew. Andrew carefully examined the disappearances of the 7 people over these 7 nights, the individual vanishings that occurred over 6 nights. Each night, the silence of death that settled over the town mercilessly claimed its inhabitants. As a result of his detailed investigations, he realized that the hand of a single person was behind the disappearances, the respected town resident, Joseph McAllister. Initially, McAllister's graceful demeanor and actions that reinforced his legitimacy in society had led Andrew to believe he could not be the architect of this horrifying crime. However, a major contradiction arose when Andrew stumbled upon some unknown references to McAllister among the records of the town's unsolved murders from 15 years ago. Andrew delved into the dusty archives of the town library, meticulously examining old newspaper clippings, court records, and rumors told by town acquaintances. Each document contained subtle clues about McAllister's past, hinting at the town's darker side. Andrew discovered a secret compartment in McAllister's house where he found documents resembling old murder files, maps, and diaries recounting tragic stories from the past. These documents proved that McAllister was not only a respected citizen, but also the mastermind behind the town's terrifying mystery, the clever plan behind the old crimes and disappearances. As Andrew began to confront the reality he was in, he acted with the meticulousness of a writer's soul to bring this tragedy to light. But with every piece of information he obtained, the bitter truth lying beneath the town's cold winter nights deepened. McAllister was seen as a paternal figure, a guide, and an example in the eyes of the townspeople. However, the documents he kept in his secret rooms symbolized the plan behind his crimes, the cold calculations that sacrificed a citizen of the town every night to ensure the success of his scheme. In McAllister's notepad pages, Andrew found details of old murders, the methods he used to select victims, and clues about the meticulous calculations that lasted until midnight for his plan to succeed. Finally, all the clues now suggested that McAllister was the sole force behind this horror. Andrew gathered his notes, photographs, and collected documents, and began to observe McAllister in the town's streets. On a dark and stormy night, he watched McAllister walk through the narrow streets in the shadow of the main street. His face, covered in snowflakes, resembled the mask of an ordinary citizen, but a ruthless coldness lay in the depths of his gaze. Andrew, now relying on the memories of the missing people, old murder files, and town legends, focused on the single name behind all this horror. That evening, as McAllister headed towards his house, Andrew was met by the town's silent darkness and the silence of death. Battling his inner fear, the writer approached the house door step by step and watched inside through the window. Inside, old furniture, dusty books, and faded family photos hanging on the walls revealed McAllister's past and now his crimes. In a corner of the room, Andrew noticed handwritten notes in pencil. These notes contained McAllister's erased memories, details of the town's old murders, and traces of the disappearances in a planned order. As Andrew gathered the notes with trembling hands, he suddenly heard a soft footstep behind him. Turning around, he saw a dark silhouette appear at the other end of the room. When he realized that McAllister, whose eyes slowly glowed in the darkness, was watching him, all the findings culminated in his mind with a terrifying spark. All these disappearances, the cold murders in the town's past, and carefully hidden secrets were gathered in McAllister's hands. Andrew knew he had to escape immediately, yet driven by his curiosity and professional passion, he ventured further to document the truth. The silent confrontation between him and McAllister once again revealed the harsh reality beneath the town's white blanket. The blizzard, advancing slyly like a snake, made the outside world resemble a world enveloped in the silence of death as Andrew stepped into McAllister's house to face death. As he counted his steps, his heart raced so fast that each second felt like a counter ticking down to the final moments of his life. After the shock of that moment, McAllister walked slowly to the center of the room. In his eyes, there was the accumulated pain of years and a deep indifference. "What are you looking for, young man?" he asked, his voice trembling but sharp. Andrew, with a shaking voice, tried to begin. "The truths, the reason for the disappearances," when an inexplicable smile appeared on McAllister's face. That smile was like a concordance reflecting the town's dark fate, finally announcing the cruel end of life. Later in the night, Andrew, gathering all his courage, tried to question the secrets behind the meticulously planned horror. McAllister began to recount the list of murders he had committed in the past and the vanished people with cold meticulousness. Each disappearance was a reflection of the town's old crimes. It was part of a planned, calculated, and shocking order. McAllister would restart his reckoning with the past by choosing a victim each night, exploiting the weaknesses behind society's distant attitude. Amidst these words, Andrew realized that all the vanished human lives were stains in the town's dirty history. Andrew felt he was one step closer to the truth amidst all this information. Now, the blizzard was not just a passion of nature, but a harbinger of a cold reckoning that determined the town's fate. Andrew combined the documents and photographs he had collected at home for days with the notes McAllister had written. Every document was proof that McAllister alone had created this horror. But no matter what he did, the truth had emerged. The 7 missing people, erased traces in the town's history, had come to life in McAllister's hands. As Andrew confronted this tragic truth, he had jeopardized his own life beyond the novel he would write. In those last moments, Andrew began to see the showdown between himself and McAllister. The narrow corridor of the house, merging with the snowy landscape outside, had become a defiant symbol of the tragedy that unfolded. As everything rushed by, Andrew remembered McAllister's horrifying plan and wondered, why? McAllister hesitated for a brief moment, then said in a cold tone, "People deserve to burn to ashes in the flames of fate." These words echoed in Andrew's mind, like the reverberations of the immortal tragedies in the town's past. Finally, when the inevitable moment arrived, Andrew tried to resist McAllister's dominance. He wanted to reveal the truth about the missing people's families and the town's history, with all the documents he had obtained. But McAllister had made no sacrifices to prevent his increasing anger and cold reckoning. The young writer before him had stumbled upon a victim's last night. Amidst the thick walls of the blizzard, as Andrew tried to escape, McAllister's determined steps cornered him like a wall. At that moment, Andrew's heart pounded like a dramatic farewell, and the tragic memories of the past, the silent screams of the vanished people, hung in the air. In the final moments of silence and painful whispers, Andrew looked back one last time, feeling the necessity of putting all the horror he had experienced into writing. But in the chaos, with McAllister's cold-blooded wrath and cold blow of death, the writer had to accept his own loss. In the town's snowy streets, the silently escalating horror and the silence of death combined all of Andrew's pains from the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th nights. While those 7 people who vanished each night remained like trapped souls in the town's dark history, Andrew finally lived the tragic end that would be written on the pages of his own destiny. The next morning, in the frozen streets under the town's white blanket, although the blizzard had subsided, the town was never the same. Traces remained in people's eyes, in their distance from each other, and in the unknown that followed deep shadows with every step. On the dusty table by Andrew's house window, there was a half-finished pencil and some ink. His last written lines described a truth hanging on the fragile boundary of life and death. Truths are always there, but it takes courage to accept them. After that dark winter week, the townspeople grew even more distant, quiet, and aloof from each other. The bitter memories of old murders, the traces of unsolved secrets from the past, and the truth hidden behind Joseph McAllister's respectable facade still echoed in the town's dark corridors for now. Andrew Carter's lost story served as a warning in the memories of those who remained, and the town would continue to be a place where the silence of death reigned, where real fear blossomed in one's heart. And so those horrifying weekly events in the snowy mountain town would be etched into history like other tragic tales. Andrew's disappearance, the silent horror behind the secrets he couldn't illuminate, remained in memories as a painful end that had befallen the townspeople. True fear emerged, not with supernatural elements, but when one was left alone with the darkness within. This story would forever remind of the whispers of death echoing in the town's cold winter nights, and the bitter truth of murders committed under the indifferent mask of a respected citizen. As Andrew's last written lines drifted silently in the wind, in the town's dark streets, Joseph McAllister's cold gaze and the tragedy he secretly planned would remain trapped in a void between past and future. The town, with each disappearance in its history, containing the cold and calculated touch of death and the undisputed existence of fear within humans, would slowly lose its order. No light, no hope would be enough to be reborn. And so, as the 7 lives lost within the blizzard that settled over the town mingled with the shared pain of past and future, Andrew Carter's story concluded with a tragic end. Each soul lost in the darkness was immortalized in the hero writer's pen and in McAllister's ruthless plan. This story, which left a terrifying contradiction of a writer who sacrificed his life and a respected citizen in the town's history, was a silent testament to how deep and cruel the dark side of human nature can be. The final words, echoing silently in the frozen streets of the snowy mountain town after 7 nights of disappearances, remained as a deep sorrow and horror etched into everyone's heart. Andrew's tragic end had added a new dark page to the town's history. Those who remained continued to live, trying to erase the traces of fear of the past and the deep wounds in the complex labyrinth of the human soul.